This is the Power Platform Brief. Everything you need to know about Microsoft's Power Platform in 20 minutes or less. I'm Brad Kuntz.
Actually, I don't think we're the daily brief anymore, Brad. We're the brief.
Just the brief. Just the brief when the brief needs to be briefed upon, right?
Yeah. It was for a while. It was easy because there was like breaking news every day. But like I'm looking at the Flow blog, there's been like nothing since Ignite other than the normal flow of the week kind of thing. So it's slowed down a little bit, which is actually a little bit nice.
Yeah, and the news was hot and heavy. We do have a little bit of a backlog though to kind of get through. I think. Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on for the last couple of weeks in the space. And then towards the end, I had the opportunity to sit down with John Gravely recently to talk about his new endeavor. So we'll get to that later.
Cool. Yeah. So the first story that I think is something that people really need to know about is the unified interface update where you go environments, the deprecation of the classic UI we talked about before on the podcasts, and the deadline of October 1st to move over. What we didn't know and what we learned here recently is that you need to actually schedule that, or Microsoft schedules it for you, just like with the normal updates. But a lot of environments are scheduled to make the move before you might think they are. We've seen them as early as February. And so I was on site at a customer yesterday, and we pulled up the portal where you schedule your update, or where your update, you can see where your environments are scheduled to update, and they were scheduled for April 1st, which is a little bit ahead of where they wanted to do it. So the good news is you can go to run1.powerappsportals.com, and you can see when all your environments are scheduled to move to unified interface only. But you can also then request an exemption if you don't like the date they scheduled. You can request that it be moved out. There's some confusion that I've heard from various people around this. Some people think, well, that means that the classic settings are going away. That's not true. They're still going to be there. It's the user experience. Basically, it's no different than if you set up a new environment today. You don't have that old classic UI default app anymore. And when you log in, you get the selector of the model-driven apps, and everything is unified interface. But you'll still have access to your workflows. You'll still have all the settings. One byproduct of this that I don't think has really sunk into a lot of people is the COM add-in for Outlook, or the legacy Outlook client, is going to stop working when this happens for you. So if you haven't already moved to the app for Outlook or the unified interface, you need to really get on that. First thing is go to run1.powerappsportals.com and check when it's happening. The very latest it can happen is September 25th, I believe, which is the last, or whatever the last business day is in September. It's not actually October 1st, but it's the October 1st happens kind of over a weekend. So it's the last business day in September.
And we'll put a link to the site that you mentioned there into the show notes.
So the next story is there's a public preview of the new attribute file type, which is something where we can now add a field that is a file. That might sound kind of funny, but basically, if you ever had a process where you need somebody at a certain time to upload a document, and traditionally we've had them put it as either an attachment against the record or put it in SharePoint. But the challenge with that is it's hard to validate that somebody actually updated or uploaded the attachment at that time. So now we'll be able to actually create a field where people can upload a file to that field. And right now it's available in the CDS. I don't know if it's rolled out to all regions yet, but it's not yet available for model-driven apps. It will be, I believe, with the April update. But for now, you can go ahead and try it, and you can build your Canvas apps to use it. So I'm really excited about that. That kind of goes, it was one of those things that the move to the capacity storage and Azure Blob was needed to support that. So now that we have that, this is going to store those attachments in Azure Blob, just like your Dynamics or Common Data Service attachments. And no different, but it will just be, rather than attaching it to the record in the general attachments area, it'll be in a field.
And there's not a whole lot about this on the Power Apps blog site, but man, this seems like this could be a really big deal. And this was just announced on December 9th. So this is pretty new news for us here.
I know people in Australia have it, but usually it's interesting because a lot of times North America sometimes the previews roll out here first, and then the GA features roll out here last. But for some reason, this rolled out in other regions first.
So let's talk about connectors. I know they announced a bunch of new connectors in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's several around the Microsoft Partner Center having to do with referrals. I don't know all the details around that, but there's two different Partner Center connectors there. Big one I see on the list is WebEx. So that's big news. Yeah. I know we do a lot with Teams and other Microsoft platforms, but a lot of our customers use WebEx. And so pretty excited to see the WebEx connector, even though I'm personally not a WebEx customer. If this helps us automate managing and scheduling of our WebEx meetings, or having actions in our apps and flows that can then leverage WebEx, that would be good. I'm interested to know if this might be useful for using with D365 marketing, because when you're doing an event, currently the list of providers and web meeting providers that are supported with D365 marketing is kind of limited. I think there's 2 of them on 24 and maybe one other one, where now if we have a Power Platform connector, we feasibly could have D365 marketing events and communications include things like WebEx links. And then the final story, and there's others on the Power Apps blogs and other places like that, but the last one that I thought was notable was kind of the death of D365 talent. And the place that I first read about that was on Melon Donato Martinez's blog, the first and apparently the last D365 talent MVP, talking about how Microsoft has announced the deprecation of the attract and onboarding, and is changing the name of talent to D365 Human Resources. Yeah, I agree with her that it's good news, because it's consolidating, kind of like with Project Service, where they had multiple apps that kind of overlapped and did the same thing. Cutting that down adds clarity, I think. And so the product isn't really dead, it's really being rebranded, but some of the apps within that umbrella are going away.
I loved her blog title. I think it said talent is dead, and that's a good thing. And I think it's great. And I think when you dig into that announcement and try to understand and try to pick apart what that means and what that's going to mean to customers, it makes a heck of a lot of sense, especially around what it means for operations and finance, right? And if you think about the acquisition or the strategic investment, I think what they call it, into ForVision and Elevate, that's really going to help with their HR on the operations side. And if you've ever done an implementation, or if you're an end user that has used Dynamics F&O or AX out of the box, and then had to use different point solutions on top of it to make it a complete one, this is a pretty exciting announcement, and hopefully it will give some clarity, not only to the functions themselves, but to the customers and the folks like us that are selling it.
And I never did that much with talent. But it seemed to me like it was kind of a split personality between recruiters and HR, because you had things to recruit people, and then you had onboarding for HR. And it makes sense, as she mentions in her blog, that with the focus on LinkedIn for the recruiting side or the attract side, it makes sense that they would focus that all on the one core LinkedIn solution. All right. So tell us about your conversation with John.
Well, yeah, I had a great conversation recently with John Gravely. John is, if you're in this space, you might be familiar with John. John was was the founder of Click Dimensions most recently, which was and still is a marketing automation ISV in the dynamic space. They've done some great things through the years in that space. I've used the product personally. I've suggested it to clients in the past, and we've had some very, very happy success there. Before that, he was with a company. He founded a company called C360, which was one of the early ISVs in the back then the dynamic CRM space. So this is he has started and sold 2 different Dynamics ISVs, so he certainly knows this space. I had a great conversation with him, and I won't spoil it. I'll let him make the announcement during our conversation. I'll play here in a second about the company that he's founded and the space that is covered on. But I think the interesting thing was that it was not in marketing automation. It was really more on the sales side, which if you think about a funnel and people that have been living and breathing CRM for as long as we have, think about funnels a lot. But it's that next layer of the funnel that's right after the top that his product is really focused on.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I think it looks great for one thing, seeing Scott Dro's blog about how they built it using standard PCF controls, and really speaks a lot to how well it will work with the platform and how it's going the same direction as Microsoft is going. But also, we've seen companies try and have, whether it's Click Dimensions or some other marketing automation system, have salespeople use the marketing automation tool, and it's never really been a great fit. So I like that this takes that same kind of flow that you would use with a marketing automation system of kind of the journey or the nurture campaign, but puts it in a way that's very usable and approachable by salespeople. I didn't see anybody writing HTML codes or anything in the demo.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think that not only when you see the product in action, I was impressed of what kind of impact it's going to make to end users and customers. And also when you think about how they built it with the Power Platform, I think it will probably have some good news for those of us who are looking at the Power Platform and looking at it as a rapid development platform and want to be able to prove out more complex things like this. So,
and this is kind of the kind of the response to the less code, more power. It shows that, well, you can build a lot of things on the Power Platform as a citizen. There's still room for developers, and developers can take these tools and do some really awesome stuff that, I don't know about you, Brad, but I couldn't do what Scott does.
Right, exactly. Well, great. Well, let's play the interview. Another thing to know, John and I both live in the same small town just outside of Atlanta, so we were able to do this in person. So here's that interview. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Brad. Really appreciate being here with you.
Well, I know you've had a busy week as you launched your latest company. Tell us a little bit about your new company.
Yeah, so on Monday we launched SalesSpark, and SalesSpark is a sales engagement solution that's built on the Power Platform and designed to work hand in hand with Dynamics 365 Sales and Office 365. So what it does is it takes your salespeople and automates so much of the mundane and administrative work that they do that it makes them a lot more productive. The idea is that you might have a marketing automation solution that's working to generate top of the funnel marketing qualified leads, but you need something to work those leads. You need something to turn them into sales qualified leads, into appointments, into deals, and into increased revenue, and that is exactly what SalesSpark does.
So you've had a whole lot of experience in this space, obviously. I think you got out of Click Dimensions, how long ago was that?
I left in January of 2017.
Okay. So you've had some time off.
Had some time to think.
Right, good. So how did you come up with? I mean, this is a problem, obviously, that needs to be solved. You built an app and a product around it to help solve it. How did you recognize that this was a problem that needed solving?
Well, that's a good point. It's actually kind of the same way that I recognized that marketing automation was a problem to be solved. I was working at Scribe and was putting in marketing and really thought that it was cool, but there was nothing out there that really worked well with Dynamics, so we built Click Dimensions. So fast forward to the last couple of years, I'm working with some consulting clients that really need more than marketing. They need something to take what marketing's doing and turn it into actual leads and deals. And so I put in a couple different sales engagement solutions. And by the way, these things are very, very popular in the Salesforce world. But I put them into these clients and just saw the leads shoot through the roof. And I thought, this is like deja vu. I need to build this natively into Dynamics. But the cool thing is the time where we find ourselves is you don't have to make an app that's just for Dynamics. You build it on the Power Platform. And so it can run standalone. You could integrate it to other systems. But of course, for now, our solution is that we're going to go through the partner channel and sell to customers that are most likely already using Dynamics 365 Sales.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the sequences, because I think the sequences are a big part of this product.
Yeah, sequences are the heart of sales engagement. So if you think about what a salesperson does to work a prospect, you think, depending on who you talk to, it's going to take anywhere from 10 to 20 touches for a prospect to respond. And those could be social media touches, they could be phone calls, they could be emails. And so what sequences do is they create this series of steps that a salesperson can create, a sales manager can create, easy to create. You don't need a marketing team to do this. You just need salespeople. And those steps can be anything from a LinkedIn connection request to sending a LinkedIn message to a generic task to do something else to a phone call. And then also email. So you can have an automatic email that goes out that's very personalized. It can say, hey, Brad, I'd like to tell you about our product and have a meeting. How about Tuesday or Thursday? And it can have variables, or I should say operators, that can specify for the Tuesday that might be, today is Monday, so it might say, 1 weekday in the future or 3 weekdays in the future or something like that. So you can do a lot with these automatic emails, but you can also have what are called reply emails that'll basically, if you haven't heard from the person that the email was sent to, then some period of time that you specify, 2, 3, 5 days, it'll actually go and reply to the email that was sent. So it's almost like a salesperson used to have to go to their outbox, find the email that he or she sent Brad, click reply, type, hey, checking in on my email. This does that for you. And then finally, there's the concept of a manual email where you can set an email up that has maybe 80-90% of the content written, but you have a couple blocks in there where you want your salesperson to put something relevant. And so that will be created as a task, and the salesperson will open it up, they'll do some research, put some relevant information in, mark it as complete, and it will send. So you have all these ways to make a personalized experience through these sequences. And then they also just make it super easy to bring new sales reps on board. You just teach them a little bit about your product and your process, show them the sequence, and have them start banging out prospects.
So the net effect of all that is that the prospect, or the soon-to-be customer, doesn't know the difference here between a real person sitting down in front of their computer and sending out these personalized emails and what's happening here.
Exactly. It's really the edge of AI if you think about it. So what's happening, and what's really, really important, and why this is so complementary with marketing automation, is that, in marketing automation, you have, email newsletters and bulk email sends, and you always have issues with spam folders. Well, what SalesSpark does is it connects to each salesperson's Office 365 account. So when these sequences are sending off emails, you can look in your sent items in your Office 365 and see the emails. So it's like you've hired a drone, or a clone or whatever you want to call it, to sit there and type emails for you, go get outbox emails and reply to them, do all this grunt work for you, and it's literally like having a second person added for each salesperson. It's a virtual assistant.
Right. That's great. And that makes sense about how that works with marketing automation, because you've got the very, very top of the funnel.
Yeah.
It sounds like with this, we really have a purposeful bleeding of activity that goes in between that very, very top of funnel, that next stage where things kind of get personal.
Absolutely. Sales engagement picks up where marketing automation leaves off. It is the bottom of the funnel. It's how you take that marketing qualified lead and actually do something with it. And it just requires all those touches to do it, but those touches need to be personal. They can't be getting caught in spam folders. And I'm telling you, Brad, when you look at the clients that I've worked with and you look at the anecdotal evidence out there on other sales engagement providers, you see that these solutions are wildly successful because of the results they provide. And I think that all partners out there in the channel that we're going to work with and customers can really, really benefit from this.
I've seen some ROI studies on this type of product in the Salesforce space, and it's super
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's off the charts. And talking to real live salespeople who've used it, have used these kind of products, it's really fantastic. You made a conscious decision to build on the Power Platform. What's the advantage there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously with my background and the two startups I've had before, I was going to go back into the dynamic space. But what I didn't really realize, until the last year or so, is that it's the perfect time to do that, because as I mentioned earlier, if you build an app now on the Power Platform, that can run as a standalone. You can integrate it to other systems. It's inherently integrated to Dynamics 365 Sales, which is what we want, and that's how we plan to go to market and sell. So it's perfect for us, but it removes that limitation that I've had in the past where we kind of were a one-trick pony and could only work with one CRM. We, as we grow and develop, can decide to branch and sell standalone and integrate to other systems. Right now, that's obviously not the plan, but it's nice to have that freedom and flexibility to do that. But, with Scott Duro on the team building the app, it's just been an amazing experience, because I just don't know that there's anybody out there that is as good as he is and that works as hard as he does. It's just what he has built is it's kind of irritating me as a QA tester because I can't find any bugs in it.
Right.
But it's phenomenal.
So you've got Scott on the team. You guys launched this week. Who else is on the team?
Mark Smith, the NZ 365 guy, is on the team in the role of sales and evangelism. Kim Gravely, my wife, who's been the chief operating officer for both C360 and ClickDimensions, is on the team doing that same role. Allison Macedo, who ran product management and customer success for ClickDimensions, is on the team as VP of product management and customer success. And we've got some various contractors here and there and remote folks and things like that, but that's the core leadership team.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And if someone wants to try this, go to AppSource.
Go to AppSource. We're in the publishing process for test drive right now. We've got all the materials up there. Or just hit the website and do any of the forms, the contact us form, the demonstration form, and we can get you hooked up with, we'll do a demo, explain what it does, and then get you a solution. But as always, we're going to be real easy to work with. We're going to be super duper partner friendly.
Okay.
And that's just our MO.
So big role in partners in your go-to-market strategy here.
100%.
Like it has been in the past. And
absolutely.
Yeah, great.
And we also think that partners themselves, by nature of their business, they all need to be using this. A lot of them use marketing.
Right.
They're doing their monthly newsletter. That's great. It's drawing some attention. Now they need something that's persistent, consistent, and closes deals for them, and that's what this does. Great compliment there.
Right. Well, and I think the type of business that we're in, I think it will be a great compliment for the type of activity that we do. How is this priced?
Priced on a per user basis, so $95 per user paid annually with a 3-user minimum.
Okay.
And we have a $595 onboarding fee where you actually get, one-to-one with a human
Okay.
onboarding you to make sure that you know what you're doing, get you up and running and successful.
What's next for you guys?
Next for us in terms of roadmap, there's just a lot of different areas to go. This is something that really can go down the AI path, because you think you're kind of almost virtualizing salespeople, where you're taking a salesperson and doing a lot of, or I should say automating a lot of their tasks so that they can do the higher value tasks and so that they're more productive. So there's an AI component down the road, but short term there's just a variety of of features that we've got on the roadmap just to continue to add. And one thing I should note is that I designed the MVP, wireframed it, and it was a pretty good MVP. What I didn't realize with the combination of Scott being involved in the project and the Power Platform is that with everything you get in the Power Platform and the entities and the dashboards and everything, we came out with an MVP that looks like a full-on product. It's got analytics, it's got dashboarding, it's got just everything that you would want in a full-on sales engagement product at this point. And the data modeling has been done so conscientiously and so well that there's almost no question I can't ask of a dashboard or a query that I can't get and see very quickly, and that's something you're just never going to get with a non-native type solution. So it's been a real treat doing the whole thing.
Great. Well, John Granby, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.